Well guys, I've seen a lot of dumpster fires in my life. I once had front row tickets to Suicide Squad starring Jared Leto. The amount of vomit I had to clean up during that movie was the first chapter in my origin story. I once saw a homeless man chug milk out of an udder inside an AMC during a midnight screening of The Last Jedi. Turns out that homeless man was actually Luke Skywalker himself. Now that was trash that even I couldn't handle. And it takes a lot to get to me. When you've been a janitor for a quarter of your life, you've actually cleaned up so much vomit and shit and poop and diarrhea that seeing a bad movie is actually the least of your problems. It's always been something I've tried to get across to my viewers in whatever subtle ways I can get away with. But the truth is that I actually enjoy most things. I even liked Mortal Kombat despite having a semi-viral tweet completely bashing it. The movie was still fun. I like garbage. Do I really need to explain that to some of you? I doubt it. You saw my Last of Us 2 review.
I'm not gonna be buried in a grave. When I'm dead, just throw me in the trash. Okay.
You know what? Just change now, okay?
It's time for you to change,
It's
okay?
time for that.
So that's why when a trash show like Loki comes out, I got no problem opening up the whole bag and just basking in its filth. The show has weird vibes. Some people say it's tonally different from the Loki character we're used to, and he seems like an entirely different character. People are complaining the show minimizes past events like Infinity War and Endgame. Some people even say it feels completely separate from the movies. I noticed most of these things, but never really gave much of it a second thought because this show is actually fun, except for episode 3, which was pretty boring.
Are you sure you're a Loki?
You're in my way.
You are my way.
Show delivers on the premise every step of the way.
You are my way.
Just like WandaVision, it takes the side characters in the MCU and elevates them. But unlike WandaVision, Loki actually delivered on its finale. I'm actually kind of surprised at all the hate this show is getting, considering everyone always says they want something new in the MCU and they're tired of CGI finale battles. The final battle in the show was a conversation, not a skydive battle. Thought that was nice for a change. The fight against Goliath was enough for me. It was well done, had some fun surprises.
How is he doing that?
I think we're stronger than we realize.
The fact they're letting the show have these huge consequences all across the MCU is further proof Disney really wants you to buy their Disney Plus subscription if you want to have half a chance at still understanding what's going on in these future movies. They really are taking a leap of faith here because after episode 6 of Loki, I can no longer explain the MCU to my family. I would have a better chance at teaching my mom how to do a kickflip than explain what the multiverse is and how it works. Let's compare Loki to a few other shows. You know what? Never mind. What a completely original show that was not inspired by anything. No, you can't compare Loki to Rick and Morty. Ah, same show. I'm not surprised Loki reminded Elon Musk of Rick and Morty. We have similar brains. I used to work for him at PayPal. My job was to keep his trench coats clean and take cool pictures of him. I think I did a pretty decent job. Speaking of drip, I just gotta say this Loki costume was worth watching the show alone. This was probably the best acting moment in the whole show. Richard E. Grant has really been throwing himself headfirst into these Disney roles. It's a bummer how he was already killed off in both Marvel and Star Wars, because I would have liked to see more of him in at least one of those.
When I knew there was going to be this character, that there were obviously all these Lokis. No, it wasn't just old. That we literally, there's only one person we thought of, and it was Richard. And if you'd said no, I don't know what we would have done really.
You would have gone to...
No. It was. In fact, even in the concept art, when we were drawing it, it was drawn with Richard's face. It was like a wish fulfillment. So here we are. Good. We're living the dream. I'm living the dream. You may not be.
I am in the dream.
You have to say that because the cameras are on.
I've been enjoying Loki so much, I decided to go back and watch the old Thor movies. Thor 1 and 2. And holy shit, I do not think Tom Hiddleston has given a performance yet that was at the same level he gave in Thor 1.
You told me what I was from the beginning. Why didn't you?
You're my son. I wanted only to protect you from the truth.
Well, because I'm the monster parents tell their children about at night?
Clearly a very talented actor, but man, he goes in on this scene so hard. I wish I could have seen more of this side of Loki.
Tell me!
I like to imagine just before acting in this scene opposite of Oscar-winning actor Anthony Hopkins, Tom read this article one last time about being a no-name actor cast in a big movie, and he was like, I'm gonna show these people what a no-name actor can really do. Seriously, go back and watch Thor 1. It was really good, and it's a way better movie when you're actually rooting for Loki the whole time. It makes the movie a lot more tragic and heartbreaking.
For all of us.
No, Loki.
Fuck you, old man. I was just about to commit massive genocide in your honor. The least you could do would be to thank me, you heartless old ass prick of a stepdad. Owen Wilson clearly belongs here. I mean, it's pretty obvious how his story is gonna end. They really telegraph the hell out of it. But I'm here for the journey, not the destination, so just as long as they don't Game of Thrones this show, it's still a fresh tomato in my book. And also, this soundtrack for some reason goes hard as fuck. But if we're gonna point out how hard this soundtrack goes, we have to point out what a huge disservice the show did to this song. When James Gunn saw this, he had to look away. Song is pretty epic in my opinion, and nothing epic happened in this scene at all. This was garbage. But you know, to be honest, calling the show trash is a little unfair. But I felt like it was a catchy title, so being fair, I'm sticking with it because I think it's funny. Really, Loki is less like trash and more like that cousin you see at Thanksgiving that is really freaking good at kicking everyone's ass at Mortal Kombat, but when you go outside to play football, he sucks. It's kind of like that, if that makes sense to anyone else. I'm going to address some complaints to this show that were mentioned in the intro. I got no excuse for that one. That whole thing is just weird. At the same time, it's a little surprising though for Disney, I'll give them that. I'm surprised they put that in the show. I don't know, is that like a woke thing? Is the message to like love yourself? Because I think they went a little too far with it. I mean, that's Marvel. These characters get tossed all over the place. Tons of people are handling them, writing them, and things change. But I actually think they did a pretty good job making Loki's change realistic. He went through a major traumatic event. Some of these people out here saying that this shouldn't have made a change in his personality have not been traumatized enough in real life. Sometimes things just go bad. Sometimes you will see something, that shit will just change you. I once saw a man get stabbed in the gut outside of a Taco Bell in Ohio in 2013. It was a block away from my house. I was there getting dinner. You think I was the same person the next day? Still ate at Taco Bell all the time, but that one incident changed me enough to learn to finish my meals at the bar across the street and not the Taco Bell parking lot. That was a big change for me, and Loki watching himself die was probably pretty similar. He went from trying to conquer the world to trying to save the universe. I love a bad guy that turns good. He's gotten a little too soft for my liking. It's still a cool premise though, and the execution has been pretty solid. They were always going to have to introduce a new Thanos type villain, and what better way to make you realize his power than making the Infinity Stones useless? Really, we should be grateful that they put this much effort into the next villain and didn't pull a Star Wars and just bring Thanos back to life again. See you next time, Janitor Squad. This episode was made possible by the Jared Leto Joker fan club on Patreon. Thank you Nicholas, Mark, Luke, James, Christopher, Anonymous, L, and Danielle.
Hunka hunka!